Hi, and thank you for stopping by. My name is Gavin. I am the audiophile wannabe, and on this episode, we will take a look at the Dayton Audio HTA 200 hybrid solid-state tube integrated amplifier. Is it a good choice if you're thinking about trying out tubes? Let's take a look at this little beauty. This is the HTA 200 as currently seen on the Parts Express website. This is the 200 watt version. There is a 20 watt and a 100 watt version as well. Looking at the back of the unit, we can see that there are a number of various inputs: digital optical, USB input, digital coax, line level RCAs, auxiliary, and even a phono input, which is great. And there's also a subwoofer output. Dedicated subwoofer outputs are always great on an amp, and the amplifier is a hybrid tube preamp with a solid state amplifier. The HTA 200, is it a good choice to go with if you want to check out tube amps? Well, I didn't really know, as I had never heard a tube system before, but I do have one friend who has a very nice tube system, and fortunately he invited me over for a listen to see the difference. It didn't take long to see that there actually is a noticeable difference between tubes and solid state. Again, the hobby isn't about this is better than that. It seems to be more about finding out what you like and getting the most out of your music listening. And with tubes and solid state, it's also not that one's better than the other, I learned, but there is a noticeable difference, and it's good to understand which one you may prefer and why. For example, last week I was talking to another friend about this very thing, and he actually came up with a great way to explain the difference. In his words, he stated, whereas solid state is more refined and precise on some songs, on other songs he feels a more emotional connection with tubes, and he gave a really neat analogy. He said, imagine looking at a holographic photo of yourself with some friends at the beach. He said it's like with solid state, you can see the definition and refinement so good you could almost reach out and touch what's in the photo. But when it comes to tubes, the refinement of the holographic picture may not be as precise, but you can smell the salt air and feel the sand in your toes. I thought this was a great analogy because it demonstrates how both can be very enjoyable, but in different ways. So after listening to my friend's tube system, I looked around to see what an affordable option might be and came across the HTA 200 and decided to get one. This is how the HTA 200 came supplied in the mail from Parts Express. And in this photo you can see how it looked coming out of the box. The tube cage is still on the unit in this photo. And here she is currently sitting in the audio rack. And here is another angle. Powered on, as you can tell. Tubes are definitely glowing. That's a good sign. And we will come back to the pictures in just a minute. So how did the HTA perform? What did it sound like? At first it did sound a bit loose, less refined, especially on the bottom or the low end than what I would prefer. And the folks at Parts Express did say that could possibly sound that way at first, but give it some time for the tubes to break in and I should see a change. Well, sure enough, that's definitely what happened. It actually only took me about 4 or 5 hours to notice a difference, and over the next couple of weeks it continued to get even better. After watching some YouTube videos on this product, I decided to take a risk and replace the rear left and right tubes with the EL34 tubes. As you can see in the photo again, in the back left and right, you can see the taller, beefier tubes. Those are the EL34 tubes. I put those in after having watched some videos. These are considered an upgrade by some, but they do void the factory warranty, so please be mindful of that. I think maybe removing the cage does the same. Don't quote me on that, but if you do decide to go with those tubes, then that's taking the performance and the longevity of the amplifier into your own hands, which is what I did. But the sound improvement was very noticeable. It didn't take long at all to be able to notice a tightening up of the bass, and even in the mid-range vocals and other instruments in the mid or upper mids, there was definitely an improved crispness, refinement, cleaner sound with these particular tubes. So as far as the sound improvement, I would definitely give them a thumbs up, but again, just take into consideration that they would void the factory warranty. Sound-wise, how did the HTA 200 perform? If you like music with a good vocal presence, symphonic instruments, jazz, the holographicness, if that's a word, to me has been more prominent and gives a bit more of a lifelike quality. I do listen to some electronic music also that has strong low end and synthesized tones, and the sound has been great. Some of the low end on Yoshi Horikawa's music, for example, some of it can get a bit loose, but his music isn't exactly electronic, and to be honest with you, I don't exactly know how to classify his music, even though I love it. If you haven't checked out Yoshi Horikawa, check his out. If you're into 3D holographic imaging, you will get a kick out of his music, I promise. Or I say you would. I hope you would. Again, to my ear, some music with this amp just sounds more real and lifelike, but your experience may be different. And to that point, my friend that came up with the holographic picture analogy came over to check out the HTA, and he felt that the soundstage was bigger and better with the Cambridge AXR 100 that we compared the HTA to than it was against the HTA. But to my ears, it was the opposite. Overall, he felt like the articulation of the Cambridge helped him to hear the soundstage in my listening room more so than he could with the HTA 200. But again, with some songs, he stated he still got that emotional connection more so with the HTA 200. In my opinion, the HTA 200 has been a delight to listen to, thoroughly enjoying it, and consider it well worth the money spent to break into the audio world of tubes. The key characteristics you typically hear people describe with tubes seems to be present with this amplifier. It's very warm, beefy. The mid-range vocals and instruments have a presence and way of speaking that can be more personal, maybe. And I'm really liking it. And if you're thinking about an affordable hybrid to get that tube sound, the HTA 200, in my opinion, is a very good amp. Again, I found that the EL34 tube change was favorable as well, and so far glad that I did. But it does nullify the warranty, so just want to be a reminder for that, and could potentially increase the risk of the product failing in some kind of way. Just throwing that out there. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you have enjoyed the content, would ask that you please click the subscribe button and like button, as that will help the channel grow. Thank you so much, and hope to see you again. Have a great day.